Alright. Official first car talk. This bothers me, but it's the only way. I gotta get used to it, I guess. What is that? No. Shut up, bitch. Alright. Oh, by the way. Ultra Black Monster is gas. Alright. I suppose that this will be kind of like a introduction to what this is going to be like. If I have to give what it's inspired by, I'd probably say Sam Sulek. Just because that's who I really liked with the car talks. Gonna be a lot of post-gym, maybe pre-gym talks. A lot of, at some point I like to do a lot of road trip talks, you know, that kind of thing. A bunch of different things. So just kind of like driving and vlogging, car vlogging. I need to turn this down probably. You probably didn't get much of what I just said. Sam Sulek, car vlog. That's about what you need to get. Oh shit. Alright. All good. I have to say that I don't know how frequently I will be uploading, when or how, if I'm gonna upload this. I don't know really much about this. I've still got to edit it. You know, that kind of thing. Do a bunch of things. But this is just kind of the beginning. Me getting my hands on the ropes. Not literally. I don't like rope. I've never done that rope exercise. I've never done that. I look stupid as shit. I've never done that. I should, though. I really should. I should consider expanding my workouts. Not gonna happen. Not anytime soon. I'm too broke. To be going out and trying new gyms like that. Because fun fact, day passes are really expensive. Most places you go to, please consider getting different headlights. Thanks. I just did an oil change on the car. By the way, it's a 2009 Audi A4 2-liter turbo quattro. That means all-wheel drive. It's blue, and I don't know the license plate, and I don't know the VIN. Otherwise, I'd give it to you. Car talks. Like talking about cars is going to be another staple of this kind of segment. At some point, I might consider doing gym, like in the gym, like recording, but not right now. I've got clip-on microphone that's connected via USB-C to my phone. And then I've got a phone holder. God, this road sucks. But that's the setup. If you think that anything special is going on here, you are dead wrong. Nobody thought that. By the way, this album, Songs for the Deaf by Queens of the Stone Age, is so good. Queens of the Stone Age have made literally all of my favorite songs so far, like recently. Please don't go out in front of me. You know, Vampire of Time and Memories. That's such a good song. Go with the Flow. Peak. I Sat by the Ocean. Peak. Notice how all of these songs are going to be from either Songs for the Deaf or Like Clockwork. I haven't had the time to listen to any of the other ones, although I've heard Rated R is really good. And I want to listen to their newest one because it has a song called Paper Machete, and I think that's funny. Uh-oh. Anyways, back to the point. I think that this is going to be fun. Most of all, it's going to be entertaining for you guys to watch, I hope. You know, if there's any ever suggestions, I guess, leave them in the comments. Nobody was going to watch this one. Nobody probably ever will. I'm probably going to private it if I ever do take off. This car doesn't have any wood. I can't knock on wood. Yeah, I'm just kind of fucked in that regard, I guess. It's whatever. I need to watch my language. My grandparents might watch this, and they don't know. I'm just going to assume that this guy's trying to go the speed limit, but I'm not letting him. I will rear-end you. Invincible. This is just going to be a random car talk, by the way. Whatever I feel like talking about. Relationship advice also. So technically motivational, I guess. I don't know. I don't pay attention to what it's called at the moment. Invincible is peak. And anyone who says different did not watch it. I can promise you that. That song, or that show has genuinely got so many good songs, so many good moments. Is the animation bad at times? Yes. Excuse me. But have you ever seen a show that doesn't have bad animation every once in a while? Yes. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but it's whatever. Dude, I suck at this. But Invincible just hits home. It's got great storytelling, great character development, great characters in general, and great endings to them. Like Rex? Dude, that's peak. Like, genuine peak. Like, I don't think I've ever seen a better depiction of that kind of character. What kind of characters? I don't know. I don't do that kind of shit. I don't know. I'm not a show critiquer, if you will. But that's fine. What was that? I don't know. Something hit the side of my car. It felt like rocks. That's what it sounded like. But there are no rocks on paved road. Don't know if you knew that. I did. Well, there's not many rocks at that, and that sounded like a bunch of rocks hit my car. It's whatever. Relationships. Let's go down this rabbit hole because I can talk for hours. For the record, I'm young. I'm young. I am not in a position to where I feel comfortable being in a relationship. That's me being completely honest. I think that there are a lot of situations where I want to be in a relationship that doesn't mean that I should be. You get what I mean? Just because you want it doesn't mean you need it. And that's something that a lot of people don't understand, myself included. When I was younger, man, I did not understand the concept of being comfortable by myself, alone. I just recently started doing that. You know, learning to be comfortable in my own skin. I just started learning that kind of thing. Right? Like 2 years ago, or a year ago. Right? And so what I find myself thinking a lot of the time is that I really miss it, because I just got out of a long-term relationship. I say got out. one thing that you might notice is that at times I'm very particular about wording, and this is one of those times. Saying got out implies that I need it out. Did I need out? That's debatable. Could I have stayed in that relationship and still worked on myself effectively? I genuinely think so, yes. But it would have made things difficult. And there comes a point to where you have to consider each other. Could I have done that? Yes. Could she have done that? Yes. But it would have been very emotionally taxing. She's in college. She's 27 hours away from me. That's and that is a 2-hour time difference, right? When it's 10 o'clock for me, it's only 8 o'clock for her, right? And so it becomes this very stressful thing to where you're trying to balance life. And that's really difficult, right? It's difficult to balance your right here life with them life when they're not with you, right? That's what makes long distance so difficult, is the romance effectively is really hard to get, right? I'm a romantic guy. Everyone I've ever been with has told me I'm very romantic. That's just how I am, I guess. And the romance was so unbelievably difficult in that long distance relationship. It was difficult to feel just like that. It's difficult. And it's very, very understandable if you can't do long distance. Not everyone can. It is not everyone's cup of tea. And I think that that's something that people have to understand, is that there comes a point to where you just have to call it quits. You have to cut your loss. I hate that. I hate that I had to, or I should have, that I did, right? It becomes an issue of the risk to reward. The risk being, is this going to be more stressful today than I need it to be? And the reward is, the relationship, the good parts of the relationship, right? You get all the bad parts of the relationship, plus you're separated by phone, which makes communicating so much more difficult. It's really difficult to pick up on tone through a phone, right? It's really difficult to to just be there for someone when you're not really there, right? It's different when you're being there for someone, but you get to see them soon. Long distance is difficult because you don't really know when the next time you're going to see them is. And by long distance, I'm not talking like a 30-minute drive. I'm talking a severe road trip, right? That's when it becomes difficult, because you are separated by such a long distance that it makes this fine-tuning of this instrument, which is the metaphor for the relationship, right? This instrument needs to be fine-tuned. And so that becomes really difficult when you're doing it virtually, right? It becomes really difficult when you're separated by 1,500 miles or whatever it is. And that's something that people don't consider, is how difficult is this going to be? I could have handled it. I could have handled it better in the past too. But I didn't. My work life, my college situation, I need to get enrolled in college. My friendships are all becoming a thing that's very stressful for me at times, which makes it difficult to balance. you know, sometimes you can feel like you are holding someone back in a relationship, and if that's the case, you should communicate that to them. If you're ever feeling like you're holding someone back from achieving something or doing fun things or whatever, you should talk with them. You should say, hey, I really feel at times that I'm holding you back. And whether you want them to say, no, I don't feel like that, or whatever, right? It's important. Is that something that should cause you two to break up? I don't think so. I don't think that's necessarily what that means. I think that it's all based on situations. The situation that you're in depicts the actions that you should take, right? Or, you know what I mean, right? So, let's say you get into one small argument with your significant other. That doesn't mean that you should just break up with them immediately. That does mean you should talk with them. Say, hey, I didn't like this. Could we not do that next time? You know, I don't want to hurt you. I'm sure you don't want to hurt me. Let's figure out a way to work on this. A lot of times, early relationships, once they get out of that honeymoon phase, get into this phase where it's me versus them, right? That's not the way it should be. It should be you, like as a couple, so you guys versus the problem. When that happens, and you can effectively do that, is when the relationship really begins to take off. There are going to be problems in relationships. No matter how old you guys are, no matter how old the relationship is, there are going to be issues. And so when people leave at the first sign of issue, that just shows me that they weren't ready in the beginning. They weren't in it. You know? They just wanted something. Whether that be sex, you know, someone to be there, they were lonely, cuddles, whatever, right? Whether it's physical, spiritual, emotional, they needed something, and once that became difficult to get or receive, or they figured that it would, they stop. They leave the relationship, and I think that's really silly. I don't think that people who aren't ready for a relationship should be in a relationship. That sounds really self-explanatory, but the issue becomes, how do I know when I'm ready for the relationship? And you've got to do some introspection. If you don't know what that word means, that means you've got to look inside yourself to figure out what you need versus what you want, right? I did introspection and figured out that I could really use some time to myself as a person to figure things out, to find out things, right? And I did introspection, and I figured out that I don't need a relationship to be happy. I figured out things like that, right? And that's what's important, is you've got to figure these things out. If you don't figure these things out, then you're going to be doomed to eternal issues in relationships, right? Whether that's consistent fighting because you don't look inside yourself for issues, right? I'm not saying that it should be like a fucking antivirus and you should be constantly on the lookout for things to work on. What I am saying is that you should be actively trying to fix things when they come up, right? Let's say you've got a girlfriend, right? She comes to you and she says, this X really bothered me, right? Like X is an example for whatever it is. Blank really bothered me. Someone who's good at introspection will say, okay, I see what you're saying. Let me figure out how to fix it, right? Or let's figure out how to fix it, right? You talk about it. Someone who's not good at introspection or just refuses to in general would look at that situation and say, I didn't do anything wrong. I refuse to acknowledge it. That was not my fault. That was your fault. Or no one's at fault. Well, objectively, there's a cause to a problem, which could have been avoided. I guarantee it. Right? So whether you want to put the blame on them, which I wouldn't, or you want to put the blame on yourself, which I wouldn't, right? It's important that you have to, just acknowledge that issues exist and that there are ways to fix them, right? I think that it's really important to talk about these kinds of things going into a relationship. So at the beginning of the relationship, say, hey, I really struggle with this and this. How do you feel about that? What's a way that I can work on this specifically for you, right? Like tailor-made. What's something that I can do to make you feel like this, to help with this, right? And if she says, I don't know, that's your problem, well, fuck. You're on your own, I guess. If you want to be in the relationship with that person still, which is completely reasonable to not, at that point, I feel like, because they don't want to help you. They see it as you versus them. That's not how it is. It should be you guys versus the issue, whatever that issue may be. And a lot of people just don't do that. A lot of people just refuse to acknowledge that there are issues that they can work on. I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm not guilty of that sometimes. Sometimes I just don't want to acknowledge that I did something wrong. That's understandable. But there comes a point where you have to look at it and say, yeah, that was my fault. Yeah, that was my bad. Let me work on it. And another thing is that you shouldn't take chances for granted. Chances are something that should be taken very seriously. If someone cares about you enough to give you another chance, there's no promise that that's going to last. And you've got to take that sacredly. Or you've got to hold that close. I've always been the type of person to give many, many chances in life to people who admittedly may not deserve them. And that's something that I can work on, of course. But there are other people who have the exact opposite issue. Maybe they don't want to give another chance. Maybe they struggle with giving out extra chances or something like that. Which it's based on issues that you've had before in relationships with, whether it be parents or a spouse. You just got to figure these things out. And once you do, is when you can kind of grow, literally. Like you grow as a person and you become a better person. I don't know, I feel like I've been rambling on about the same shit, just wording it different. So I apologize if that's the case. I'll watch this back and change it. I'll edit some of this shit out if I feel like it's kind of just rambling on. An important part in everyday life is your attitude, which is something that I literally just started working on. It's important to acknowledge that your attitude depicts a large way of how you look at things. Going into a situation saying this is going to suck will make it suck a lot more than if you go into it with hope, or go into it thinking this isn't going to be bad, in and out, right? Of course, either way, it's going to be disheartening when it does not go the way you want it to, unless it goes better, right? Like if you're sitting there and you're going, this is going to go quick. 6 hours later, you're still working on the car. You're like, I'm going to kill myself now. Not literally, I hope, but that's just the way it goes sometimes. Right? You just kind of look at a situation and you say, holy shit, that sucked major ass. I can't wait to never do this again. Next week rolls around, you've got to do the same shit again. Fuck. Those kinds of things always happen. But it's important to acknowledge that going into a situation with a positive mindset will make it a lot more enjoyable overall than if you go into it with a negative mindset. If you go into work every day saying this is going to suck, I'm going to want to leave the entire day, then it is going to suck 100%, and you are going to want to leave the entire day. I can almost guarantee that. But if you go into it saying, I think today's going to be different, I think that today's going to be a great day, actually I know today's going to be a great day, that will completely shift the way that the day goes. I guarantee it. At least most of the time. Some days are just bad days by design. I don't know why, and I really wish it didn't have to be like that, but that's just the way it is. Sometimes you just have a difficult time with life. And that's okay. Everyone has a little bit of difficulties here and there. It's important also to not dwell on things like that. Consistently dwelling on issues that have been resolved only leads to more conflict and more issues. Right? So an example would be your significant other made a mistake and you continuously use that against them over and over and over and over. That's just disheartening to the other person, because now you've effectively, I don't know how to describe it. It's disheartening because you feel like no matter what you do, this one thing is consistently weighing down what you do, right? So you feel like it should have been up here, but now it's down here. Well, what the fuck? What's the point of even trying now? I just feel like no matter what I do, I'm always going to be held down by this. And that's an issue I've had beyond relationships, as a romantic tense. Kind of going into my past, I've struggled with feeling like, and not even because anyone just used it against me, just I feel like my past weighs me down sometimes, whatever that may entail, whether that's what I've done, what I've said, things like that. I just feel like sometimes that can weigh me down, and that's something that shouldn't weigh me down. That's my past. Everything looks brighter up here versus back there. The important thing about your past is to be able to look at it, recognize what happened, and then grow. Right? So happy moments, great, happy moment. Maybe have another one of those. Do it again to reminisce. Sad moments, well, take that moment and instead of bottling it up, talk about it. Use that to grow. Right? Moments where you could have been more calm. You didn't have to go into it so, per se, agitated or something like that, is when you can kind of, I don't know. Those are moments when you can really grow as a person as well. Where you can look at it and say, I should have gone into this differently. It's also important to apologize. A lot of my friends struggle with that. They struggle with apologizing. They just don't apologize for whatever reason. And, that's something that really sucks. I guess they just don't feel like they can. I feel like they look at their mistakes as something that can't be fixed when it's something that can be fixed. You just have to let it be fixed. If you continuously hang on to something from in your heart all the time, then it's never going to go away. You know? Like, let's say I said something mean to my girlfriend. Whatever it was. Suddenly, I've become very closed off because I don't want to repeat that. And so I've become very closed off. I don't talk to her as much. And if I do, then I'm not as emotional because I feel like the emotions is what caused that. Well, that's not true. You said something mean in the moment because you let your emotions get the best of you. What you should do is learn to manage the emotions that were the issue. You know, instead of this idea that I fucked up grandly, it should be this idea of I messed up, next time I'll do better. Now this is especially important for girls to remember. Also for guys, but I mostly notice that girls having this issue. When your significant other says they're going to change but they don't, what's the point of being with them? If it was important enough for you to ask them to change this thing, right, but they never do, what's the point of being with them if they don't? You have to take yourself into accountability. Like, there's been a few times where I've yelled at people because they continuously complain about their relationship, and I give them advice, and eventually it comes to the point where it's like, well, they haven't changed. You haven't changed. Neither of you have changed, right? So why are you with them? Well, I love them. Well, love doesn't keep you somewhere. Love pushes you. You don't love them. Not the way you want to, at least. Sure I do. No, you don't. Trust me, you don't. What you love is the idea of having someone. Well, that's not true. Yeah, it is. You like the idea that there's somebody who has your back no matter what. You're D1 supporter. Everyone likes that idea, but you cling to it for whatever reason. Whatever it may be. And so you hang on to this person because you see it as a way of almost proving to yourself that you can be loved, that you're deserving of it. Which, if that's something you're struggling with, you shouldn't be in a relationship either. You know, I don't think that the relationship there is the issue. I think that in situations, people are issues, not relationships, and vice versa. You know, if you go into a convenience store looking mad, looking like you're there, like you've already had a shit day, and whoever talks to you is just going to make it worse, well, obviously, that's going to make everyone around you think, maybe I should not talk to that guy. He seems angry. Or girl. If you dress in all black, got your hair tied back, you look like you're there for business. People are going to assume you're there for business. And what's going to happen? Answer that. Like, genuinely. Say it out loud. What's going to happen? People are going to stay away from you. And that's the same. It's the same thing with attitude. Right? I apologize. This is all over the place. This is how my brain works. You'll get used to it, I promise. Right? You go into things with certain attitudes, and then it just becomes unpleasant to be around. Like, let's say one of your newer friends in school consistently comes into work upset, or consistently comes into school upset. You just come to accept that you shouldn't be around this dude at the beginning of school because he's mad for whatever reason. Maybe he just is not a morning person, whatever. That's fine. You don't have to be a morning person, but you do have to change your attitude. If you go into something expecting to get pissed off, you're going to get pissed off. And this is really awkward because right about now is when I would ask the person I'm talking with to give me their input. There's nobody there. This is a phone. So there's no one to give me input in the moment. So I'm just kind of yapping. And of course some of this will be cut out and whatnot. Okay. So I'm going to compare relationships in the gym together. As a, I don't know, right? Excuse me. I'm tired. Right? In the gym, you want to do exercises that don't hurt, but you also get good gains out of, that push you forward. It's the same thing in a relationship. You want to do things, you want to be with someone that pushes you forward, is productive, you grow with, not things that hurt you, that continuously, kind of whatever. And that's something that people don't do a lot. They don't go away from relationships that they feel they can be in, even if they're continuously being hurt. I've got an example like this at my work. 2 of my coworkers are dating, or were, and it took them a while to finally separate because they wanted to keep giving it a chance. They felt like they could make it work, but the truth is that they couldn't. They can't. And the reason why is because, well, they just weren't made to be together. Leaving specifics out of it for privacy reasons for both of them. It just wasn't made to be. I warned the dude, actually, about her. Not because I've been with her, but my friend has. I warned him, I said, you need to know what you're getting into. I know she hasn't told you. Well, there they were. Already mad at each other before they were together. Because she lied to him. Consistently. The important part of every story is the other side. Just because somebody said something doesn't mean it's necessarily true. Please pull him over. That was so illegal! You are such an ass. I would have been pulled over if I was in my sports car. Anyways. I hope this isn't peaking too much. I feel like it probably is. And an important note is that it's important to feel loved in life. It's important to feel like you're important. It's important to feel like you matter to someone, at least. And that is the truth. To anyone who watches this video, I care about you. And I love you. I think you're doing a good job. And, of course, there is always room for improvement. Please, I will always preach this. Practice in introspection. Look inside yourself. It pays off. I can promise you that it feels a lot better in life when you can look at something and say, I tried my best. It just didn't work. Or I tried my best and it worked. versus I didn't really try and it didn't work. I guess I'll go cry about it. That doesn't feel good. It feels better when you look at something like a relationship and say, at the end of it, say, I did everything I could. And if you genuinely feel like you didn't do everything you could have, well, then that's important. It's important to recognize why, to look inside yourself and think, why didn't I put forward my all? What happened? Why do I feel like I just suddenly gave up, or whatever it is? You know, it's important to look at situations like that and say, you know, the truth. Don't lie to yourself. Lying is bad, even if it's internal, right? Because if you look at yourself and you know deep down that, you know, you didn't do everything you could, but you tell yourself it was everything you could have done, that's pretty shitty. That's pretty fucked up. You know. But to everyone else out there, actually, I love you. I hope you all have a great day. I hope they have a great night, even. If you're watching this in the morning, I hope that whatever you've got planned for today, even if it's nothing, goes to plan. And if you're watching this at night, I hope you sleep well tonight. I hope you stay warm and your pillow's cold. If you're watching this on your lunch break or in the evening or something, I hope that even if your day is going well, that it gets better. I hope that you, I don't know, you get what I'm saying. I'm not home yet though, so I'm gonna keep talking. That was supposed to be the outro, but I lied. I'm a liar. What are you gonna do about it? Nothing. That's what I thought. Anyways, I'm telling you, man, I can't recommend this shit enough. You've got to try it. It's fucking heat. If you haven't tried Ultra Black, get it. I don't care how you have to. If you've got to order it, dude, especially if you like cherry. Oh my god. I love cherry flavored things. And that's black cherry. Oh. Straight gas. Like I promise you. Oops. You can also expect to see car content on here, like pictures or edits of my car, I hope. Maybe. I don't know. I'm talking out of my ass. I take tons of pictures of my car because I love this thing. But, you can expect to see that kind of thing, I hope. And obviously, car-focused road trips. For inspiration on that, I'd probably point to someone like Gears and Gasoline. I think that's what they're called. I don't know. I'll have it in the description. I'll say biggest inspirations. That should work. There's this one guy. His video link will be in it. I think it's like driving 2,000 or whatever, however many miles in my shit box. It's a great video. It's like 40 minutes long. YouTube thinks it's a music video for some reason. And it just like, it's him in his old drift BMW with no AC, no traction control, no ABS, and it's a coupe, by the way. Manual, 6-speed, I think. Either that or 5-speed. Driving from Florida to Oregon because he's an idiot. And I love that kind of content. And that's the kind of content I want to make. You know, I want to make content. Sorry, I was logged in there for a second. I don't know why. I want to make the content I want to watch, not the content you guys necessarily want to watch. I'm not monetized, so I couldn't give less of a fuck. That's so funny to me. Now, once I am monetized and I'm making money, dude, as long as it makes money, I'll probably do it. The only thing I won't do is something like OnlyFans. So I'm not weird. That's a good conversation. OnlyFans. I think that if someone who's single wants to do OnlyFans, more power to you. If someone is in a relationship and they talk with the other person about doing OnlyFans, whether it's with them or on their own, more power to them. I don't care. I think that's weird. But that's your guys' relationship. You can do what you want, how you want, where you want, if you want. Repercussions may ensue, of course. But it's whatever. And so, I don't want to do that in any of my relationships. I don't feel like that I would be comfortable with that. Actually, I'm pretty confident I wouldn't be. Now, something like feet pictures, that's not something I'll do, but if my girl comes up to me and says, I think I have the opportunity to make hella money by selling my feet pictures, okay. I'm not in the feet. So that's not something I'm protective of, personally. If I'm not into it, I don't care. You know, I'm not going to get into what I'm into. Obviously. You freak. Now, if some dude out there wants to jack off to my girl's feet, whether he knows her or not, there's not especially if he knows her, right? That's my point. There's not a lot that's going to stop him from getting a mental image of what he at least thinks they look like. And then he's going to beat it. I can't stop him. I can't stop anyone from beating it to my girl, right? Do I think that's weird and uncomfortable? Yeah, but I can't stop him. I recently got hit up by this Instagram girl. Oh, fuck, I think I bent my rim. No, I'm fine. Anyways, right, she hit me up on her alt and said, add my main. I said, okay. Then she hits me up with, what is your bio mean? She said specifically what my bio said. It's like 2 words. I said what it meant. We had this conversation for like an hour. Did just not even like a good conversation, just like random things that, you know, were like almost small talk, because I've never met this girl before. And she goes, can I say something and you promise you won't make it weird? I guess. And then she goes on this spiel about how she wants me to add her OnlyFans. I said, no thanks. And a long ass conversation later about how I think it's shitty that she would do something like that. I eventually block her. And it just really sucks that people go to such lengths to sell their body. That's what it is. It's legal prostitution at this point. It's pornography, which the only thing that separates it is that they're not actively fucking you. They're just imagining actively fucking you. And so I feel like it's just kind of unfortunate that somebody would be so self-deprecating to do something like that. It's whatever. I am almost there. So if you enjoyed the video, subscribe, I guess. I don't know. Until next time.